Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a quick one. I am going to be reorganizing my bookshelves. I know I've done this a few times on my channel, but I've been in the mood for a change lately and I thought, why not just record it so you can see what I do. I actually have no idea how I'm going to reorganize them, but right now I have them organized by genre, and then within genre they are organized alphabetically by author last name, which is a really great system. I love the system that I currently have. It's really easy to find things, everything's really organized. I've had it for a really long time and I just am in a mood for a change. So I think I'm gonna try something new, but I'm gonna rearrange things. I think I might just not have a system. Maybe just go based on what I'm feeling. I don't know. This video's a mess. I recently hauled some books, which if you missed that video, I'll link it above. And I also recently unhauled some books. So I kind of had to rearrange things to put things on my shelves and take things off my shelves. So I figured why not just do a big reorganization and change it up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take everything off my shelves. I'm going to clean them and then I'm going to put them all back in whatever manner I decide to do that in. If you like watching bookshelves be reorganized, just keep watching and hope you enjoy it. So this is what the shelves currently look like. This is my fantasy section. Again, it is organized by genre and then author last name, starting with A there, and it goes all the way over there, all the way to the bottom. In that little shelf there are some graphic novels. And then we move over to my last shelf, which has Harry Potter at the top, goes into YA fantasy, and then into classics. And we have adult contemporary romance, moving into just adult contemporary, and then into historical fiction, and then into a thriller, and then into nonfiction. So there's a lot going on that bottom shelf. I also have some books up there, and there, and there, and there that I need to put away. Some of them I will be getting rid of while I do this. So that is what it currently looks like. Like I said, I do really like this setup, but I kind of just want something different. So we're gonna change it up. I am all finished doing my bookshelves. I actually really like the system that I came up with, though it did take me a little while to actually sort out what I wanted to do. It is actually a couple of days after the last time I filmed. So I've had this system for a few days now, and every time I look at my bookshelves, it makes me really happy, and I just find when I'm looking for something, I know where it is because it's my own system. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than this works for me, and it's very like random seemingly, but somehow it all makes sense in my brain. So I guess that's all that matters. But I'm gonna do a quick little kind of tour / explanation of how I have it set up in case you're curious. So let's get into that. Okay, first things first, let's start off with this top rainbow shelf we have going on here. So I had full rainbow shelves for a while, but I really didn't like them. It just wasn't functional for me. I didn't like having series split up. It didn't work. And I said I would never do it again, but randomly I just decided that I would do a mini rainbow just along the top of the shelves, and the only books in that section are my YA contemporaries, my adult contemporaries, and my classics. So it's nothing that I'm worried about having split up, and it's actually the books that I kind of associate with the color of the book. So for me, the system actually really works. I also find those books are a lot more vibrant, so the rainbow kind of works better, and I find it more functional to just do it with those genres. But let's move on to what I have going on the rest of the way. Moving down, so on the first shelf underneath the rainbow, we come to this shelf here, which is my YA fantasy standalones. The next shelf down is YA series that I only own the first book of. It's kind of a holding place for if I do want to continue the series, then I will probably eventually move them out of there. Moving down, we have this shelf, which is starting to get into more series that are either fully complete or semi-complete. So in front of this section at the bottom here, these last three shelves, I have a chair that sits right here. So these shelves are primarily covered, and before the books that were here previously, because I was not really seeing them because they were behind a chair, I never really reached for them or read them, or like I kind of forgot I had some of them because they were hidden. So I wanted to be conscious of that when I rearranged my shelves. So these are books that I want to keep because they have sentimental value to me, but they're books that I probably won't be reaching for a lot, whether it's ones that I read as like a kid or a teenager that hold like a special kind of memory for me, or like The Selection, Divergent, Hush Hush. I enjoyed them, but like they weren't my favorite. They were kind of just fine. So all of these books will be kind of covered by a chair that sits here, which I'm fine with because I know these books are here. These are some of the books I've owned the longest, and they're series I probably won't be coming back to anytime soon. But I want to keep them in case I ever do want to come back to them. Which brings us to the second shelf. This is where we start getting into just YA series. So on my bookshelves, I split it up between YA fantasy and adult fantasy, which obviously there's going to be some crossover if some books are kind of right on the line. And also I kept some authors separate, but I also kept some together. Honestly, this system's pretty random. It's my own rule book, so it might not make sense to you, but it does make sense to me. A little bit is based on height. Some of it is just based on like what I thought looked good. Some of it's based on personal preference. Like I said, it's pretty random. But this whole shelf here in the middle is just all YA series. The only like real exception to that is this series, which I think is actually considered adult or new adult, but I have all her other books here, and I just felt like I wanted to have her together. She's pretty much the only exception to this, which brings us over to the skinny middle shelf. We have a special shelf just for J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. These are some of my favorite books, especially the Illuminae ones, so they just have their own shelf. I did leave room here for the third book when it comes out. They kind of just have their own shelf, as well as V.E. Schwab's adult books. I do have her YA books elsewhere. Moving down, we kind of get away from fantasy just for the bottom 3 shelves here. So we have thriller, which I have a very small collection. It's a very new genre to me, so those are just a couple that I have. Same with graphic novels here. As that collection grows, then I have a little bit of space there if I need it. Moving down, we have my collection of historical fiction books. And then finally, the last shelf on the skinny shelf, I have some arcs, and beside that is my small collection of nonfiction books. I primarily listen to nonfiction on audio, which brings us to the very last bookshelf, which is my adult fantasy shelf. I consider Sarah J. Maas's books to be adult, which is why you'll find them here. I know they are marketed as YA, but personally I think that her books are more adult, so I put them in my adult fantasy collection. I also left room here for a Court of Silver Flames. It's just random, honestly. There's no organizational system. It's just what I think looks best, but these are just some adult fantasy books. I'm starting to expand my adult fantasy collection, so I did leave myself some room. Finally, though, we get to the bottom shelf. I got rid of a ton of books when I rearranged my shelves. Ended up with a whole extra shelf. So I do have like my book sleeves and a little owl. This section here is books that are kind of in transition. So they're books that I am not sure if I'm ready to let go of them yet, but they're on their way, potentially. They're like a maybe in the unhaul. So I'm going to keep them for now and just see if I have any interest over the next few months. If I don't, I'll get rid of them. If I do, I'll incorporate them back into my collection. And finally, I left a little space here. This is kind of like if I get book mail, I'm going to put it here until I have time to actually reshelve it and make room. Sometimes it's easier to just like have a space to put the book so I don't have book mail everywhere. Because I have empty space, I figure I might as well use it. So like today, I just received my copy of The Duke and I, so I'm just gonna hold it there until I have time to like actually put it away. Have it. That is my bookshelf reorganization. I hope you enjoyed watching it and maybe getting an idea of how I organize my books. I think I just needed a refresh. I just needed to like change something. I know that this quarantine and lockdowns and all this everything has been a little tricky for a lot of you and for myself as well. Sometimes it's hard to be stuck at home. So I just felt like I needed a change, and this really worked for me. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really like my system. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not already, I would love if you would subscribe to my channel. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks so much for sticking around and seeing how it all turned out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video.